Hi everyone, Anne O'Connell with OC Publishing here, and welcome to the author journey. Boy, have we got a great show for you today. I know I say that every week, but this week we have author and journalist Vernon Oickle, who was born and raised in Liverpool, Nova Scotia, where he continues to reside with his wife Nancy and their family. Growing up in a small town in rural Nova Scotia, Vernon had always wanted to pursue a career as a newspaper reporter. After completing high school in 1979, he attended Lethbridge Community College. He graduated in 1982 with an honors diploma in journalism and returned to Liverpool, where he worked at the local weekly newspaper, The Advance, for 13 years before becoming the editor of the Bridgewater Bulletin. His community newspaper career spanned 33 years, obviously reached his dream of being a newspaper reporter. Vernon is an award-winning journalist and editor and is the author of, wait for it now, 37 books. Let that sink in for a minute. Many which collect and preserve the heritage and culture of Atlantic Canada. In addition to his long list of newspaper awards and honors, in 2012, Vernon received the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal, recognizing his contributions to his community, province, and country. And in April 2015, he received a Distinguished Alumni Award Community Leader from Lethbridge College. He was inducted into the Atlantic Journalism Awards Hall of Fame in the spring of 2020. As a testimony to his outstanding career, in 2014, the South Queens Middle School in his hometown, Liverpool, announced the creation of the Vernon Oickle Writers Award to be given annually to a student who excels in the art of writing either fiction or nonfiction. Very impressive bio. I couldn't cut it back because I didn't want you to miss any of that. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Vernon up to join me on stage.
Oh,
Yay.
thanks, Anne. Well, that sounds really impressive. I wonder who that young man is.
Man, you know what? I looked at it and I thought, I should probably condense this a little bit, but I really couldn't because, these accolades are so important. And, congratulations for such
Oh,
a
thank you.
long-running, very wonderful career, and for the scholarship for the kids. I think that's
Yeah,
incredible.
isn't that great? That was an idea that, well, he's retired now, but the principal of the school called me 12 years ago and said he had this idea and wondered if what I would think of it. And I was honored, of course. And I go every June to present the
Hmm.
award. They invite me to come. So actually, that's the ceremony is tomorrow. So
Oh,
they have an awards a ceremony where they give out all their athletic and academic awards every June, and they invite me, and it's a highlight of my year. I really enjoy
oh my
it.
goodness. Well, I so admire that, and congratulations. And I'm
Thank
sure the
you.
kids, do you get to say a few words
Oh
while
yeah,
you're,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. And as I told you earlier, Anne, I love to talk, so I try to cut myself off.
Only a few words?
What do you mean, like a half an hour? Okay,
I
no,
love it.
just 2 or 3 minutes at the most.
That's fantastic. And
Yeah,
you're
yeah, it's fun.
you're a fellow Blue Noser?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
Born and
I love
born
it.
and raised in Liverpool here, and
Excellent.
still reside here. I'm obviously moved to Alberta to
For school.
study, and came back. I had a chance to come to work. My job, I worked summers and holidays while I was studying, and then
Hmm.
after I graduated, I had the chance to come back here and
Hmm.
take on it. So just sort of the stars aligned for me, and
Live out your dream.
live out my
Wow.
dream. And it's I always tell the young people just to chase their dreams, because dreams can come true, but
Mm,
you have to be willing to work for it. I mean,
of course.
nothing came easy, right? I mean,
No.
I left when I was 18. I left Nova Scotia to go to Alberta. I'd
Mhm.
never been west of New Brunswick. I didn't know a soul. I went to a strange community, like at the time, Lethbridge had a population of over 50,000, which was large.
Mm,
My hometown had like
our
6,000,
standards.
5 or 6,000 people, and so I
Hmm.
was dropped. I dropped myself into this community that I knew nothing about, other than what I could, because this was at a time before the internet, so I couldn't even do research on the internet about
To
school
go.
library. Yeah, so
Mhm,
I
mhm.
had to rely on going to the school library to look it up and in encyclopedias and whatnot. And so it was like I had no family or friends out there. It was a
Yeah,
totally
totally different
different
time.
culture. I mean,
Mhm.
it was, but it was a huge learning experience for me,
Oh, for
because
sure.
not only was I exposed to a new culture, but I learned a whole lot about myself that I never would have. I
Oh,
really
yeah.
believe that had I not taken that opportunity, I probably wouldn't have achieved what I've been able to achieve.
Oh,
Um,
no doubt at all, and
yeah.
then there's nothing like, ripping yourself out of your familiar surroundings
Oh, yeah,
to
yeah,
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 right?
yeah, yeah.
Spur on
Yeah,
some
and,
growth.
so there's always that fear, and I was terrified. And my I can remember what my
Mm,
I took the train out, Halifax took me 3 days to go by train.
yeah.
And, I can remember my mother saying when they took me to the train station that day and put me on the train, she got very upset because she thought she'd never see me again.
Right. There he goes. Bye.
Oh, silly. Oh, there's my little
Right.
boy. And so, it's just fun. And I think back on it now,
I
of
love it.
course, it was all part of the experience, and
Oh, absolutely.
I wouldn't do anything differently.
Oh, yeah. Well, I moved here to Halifax when I was 3 from New Brunswick,
Right.
and I started school in Halifax, and I did K through 12 in Halifax, and then I did university twice through in
Okay.
Halifax. So
Wow.
I'm a
Yeah.
Mount girl. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So, yeah, my goodness, can I tell you, the more that I'm reading and, after I think it was after we first talked about having you on the author journey, didn't this come out?
Oh, yes. Yes,
And
yes,
it
yes,
and it
in
looks
Atlantic Books.
today, yeah.
What a great article, Marjorie Sims.
Isn't that amazing?
She did an awesome job.
It's a
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful article, and I just did, Marjorie's, memoir workshop at the
Ah,
Thinkers Lodge.
okay,
Um,
yes.
but tell me about this new book, this Through Rain, Sleet, or
Yeah.
Snow. I love
So
this.
I jokingly, just on the article itself, I jokingly say to John Tatry, I finally made the centerfold. Um, like me and Burt Reynolds, right? Made the centerfold.
Uh, I'm sure that made him chuckle.
Oh, yeah, yeah, for sure. Well,
It was the
book,
centerfold. You're right.
yeah,
Sue
I
Slade is watching. She says it was the centerfold. Yeah. Hi,
oh,
Sue. I just want to give a quick shout out to the folks who
there's the
are.
book. Can
Oh,
everybody see?
yay. Yep.
Hi,
It's
Sue. How
beautiful.
you doing?
Sue and Lana Shoop is watching.
Oh my
And
gosh.
Sarah Butland. Hi, guys. The
Hi,
gang's all
guys.
here.
I have my fan club. Isn't that great? Thank you all for joining in. This project came about, and it wasn't by accident. Let me put it that way. And it was a
Okay.
long time in the process. It
Mhm.
actually sort of evolved. Um, 14 years ago, 13, 14 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I was just happening to be driving down one of the back roads in Lunenburg County on my way home instead of taking the 103 from Bridgewater to Liverpool. One day I
Mhm.
thought I must go along the South Shore, like the shore road. Um, it just to kill some time and to check out the scenery, which I love to drive. So
Oh, me
um,
too, for
I went
sure.
around this corner and up a hill and down, and there was this mailbox on the side of the road. And for some reason, it caught my eye, and I thought, "Oh, that's kind of neat." And I pulled over and I took a picture of it. I had no idea what I was going to do with it at the time. No, that wasn't the one.
No, I know, but look at these gorgeous mailboxes.
Oh,
Just
aren't they
showing them off
great?
as you're chatting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, go
and
ahead.
so I took that picture and got in the car and drove off, not really thinking I was going to do anything with it. And
Mhm.
from that point on, every time I would go for a drive, like doing research for other book projects and that sort of thing, I'd come across these unusual mailboxes of a variety of subjects.
Mhm.
And I um I just thought, okay, I'm going to start taking pictures of these things. At the time, I had no idea what I was going to do with them, and the idea at that time of doing a book was kind of way in the back of my mind.
Mhm.
And so I just
But
kept
that's just your nature as well, like, as a
exactly. I
journalist,
think that was the
just
journalist in
gather
me,
stuff.
just yeah, gather like
Yes,
I'm a
yes,
gatherer, a collector, and
yes.
just my wife would agree. I'm certainly a collector. If you looked at my office, you would agree with that. Um, a pack rat for sure. So I just kept taking them, and after a while, I had so many of these pictures. Like I was getting literally hundreds of these pictures, and I thought, what am I going to do with all of these? They were really neat, and I thought, what a
Mhm.
shame. Eventually, I realized so everybody needs to see these, like because it to me, I began to realize that these were works of art, like these were
Mhm.
folk art,
Yeah.
and because of modern times and Canada Post moved to the to the rural community uh, boxes together and phasing out the rural routes. I thought
Mhm.
this is a way to preserve those.
Yeah.
So I just kept doing it, and after a while, my wife and my family, we would actually take day trips just driving around the back roads looking for
Looking
these.
for mailboxes.
That's the truth, and
Yeah.
my if
Yep.
my wife was here, she would tell you, she jokingly tells people, and it's I even mentioned it in the book, I don't thi she'll tell you there's probably not a back road in Nova Scotia that we haven't
You
been on.
haven't driven.
We
Yeah.
probably ha there are probably several we haven't been on, but, yeah, we would, and so these after a while, I would be getting people would suggest mailboxes. "Oh, you gotta come," or, and then
I love it.
I would put a post on Facebook with a sample of what I was looking for, encouraging people to contact me if
Mhm.
they ever like, if you're driving along and you see a mailbox, take a picture and send me the address, and, we would go off on a weekend mission to find these mailboxes, and we would sometimes drive for a long time. Like that one that's on the cover, this, this one
Oh, yeah.
here of
Mhm.
the rooster,
Yep.
um, this is no word of a lie, Anne. Nancy and I, my wife's name is Nancy, by the way. We
Yeah.
drove probably for between an hour and a half one day outside of Antigonish looking for this mailbox. And then it was way down a back road, but the
Mhm.
fun part of it was when
I
we
love it.
got there, there was that rooster, but there was also a hen. So it was a rooster and a hen mailbox together.
Oh, I
And,
love it.
so yeah, and
Ah.
inside the book, they're both like the picture, the publisher liked the rooster, so that's
Mhm.
why it's on the front, but so inside we used the pair of them together.
Oh, that's so
And,
cool. Well, Lana says there's proof in the book that you've been on Sandy Point Road, Lana Shoup, and Mark Shoup's watching too. Hi,
Oh,
Mark.
hi, Mark. Yeah, oh, yeah, no, yeah, I've been all up around Shelburne County and all along the South Shore many, many
Mhm.
times,
Mhm.
and Yarmouth and along the other coast, Cape Breton, like, there's every region of, Nova Scotia,
Mhm.
is represented in the book. Like,
I love it.
if we went to New Brunswick or to Cape Breton one route, we always made sure we came back a different
The
way
other
so
yes.
that we would get those.
Yeah.
So it
Well, it's
was fun.
obvious yeah, it's obvious that you have a passion for, an interest and a love for, Nova Scotia or even Atlantic Canada folklore
Yeah.
and ghost stories. Like,
Oh, yeah.
what was this, a lot of your books are ghost story
Yep.
oriented, so
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about that, how did that
Yeah,
evolve?
I've been doing ghost stories for a while, and, in addition to writing about them and collecting them for books,
Mhm.
I also do, ghost story, events at White Point Lodge every Thursday night, for the summer. I'm sort of their resident ghost story
I love
teller.
it.
Yeah, and so it's fun, but,
I gotta come and check that out. That'd be
yeah,
fun.
yeah, yeah, 8 o'clock, 8 to 9:30, it's on the shore, they have this big fire pit, and we tell
Mhm.
ghost stories, and actually, we start this Thursday night for the summer. This is the first one this
Excellent.
Thursday night. So anyway, see, I grew up here in rural Nova Scotia, and I grew up in a family, particularly my mother and her side of the family were very superstitious and believed in all this folklore stuff. And so I
Mhm.
was exposed to that material as a young child. And I always found it fascinating to the point of, oh, that's interesting. But then as I became a journalist and I started writing and exploring this stuff, I realized that I had a passion for it.
Mhm.
And I started writing the books. I've got 6 or 7 ghost story books out. Uh, I one day at the newspaper office in Bridgewater, I received, like, publishers will send out sample books to
Mhm.
newspapers wanting the newspapers to write articles about. I received this book, Ghost Stories of Ontario, and I thought, "Wow, that's a
Oh,
great book. We should do that for Nova
Nova
Scotia."
Scotia. Yes.
So this was the first from my first ghost story book. So I'm pretty bold when I have an idea, and I'm not afraid to be persistent.
No.
So I reached out to the publisher and said, because we're a Nova Scotian community newspaper, we're not really interested in doing a story on an Ontario book
Mhm.
because there's no local, unless there's a local connection,
Local
like if
hook.
the
Mhm.
author is from the community, then we would.
Mhm.
Um, but I said, while I'm at it, I have this great idea for a book. We should do Ghost Stories of Nova Scotia. And they hummed and hawed and said, well, we're not sure the market for Nova Scotia is large enough. But why don't you pitch us the idea of doing a Ghost Stories of the Maritimes?
Oh,
So I put together a sample and did them a pitch for Ghost Stories of the
of the
Maritimes.
Maritimes.
Yeah. Now this was a
Okay.
publisher that was based in Edmonton, uh,
Okay.
outside of Edmonton, and so they said, "Okay, let's do it." So we did Ghost Stories of the Maritimes, Ghost Stories of the Maritimes Volume 2, um, and then we did then I participated in an anthology, and in an anthology, Canadian ghost stories. So I did the
Mhm.
maritime ghost story section, and then from there they started doing other books. So I did Disasters of Atlantic Canada for them,
Wow.
and then I deviated the topic a bit and pitched them. How about we, instead of doing ghost stories, why don't we do stories angels? Because when I was researching ghost stories, people would often say, "Well, I don't really have a ghost story to tell you, but I've had this more of an enlightening experience, an inspirational experience that I would be willing to share."
Oh,
So I
wow.
started getting these stories about people who they experience, they explained it as angels, like their guardian angels.
Wow.
So we did Angels Here Among Us, and they're all their stories, they're inspirational stories of people who have had these experience with angels.
Oh, I gotta write that down because I wanna read
So
that.
yeah, and the publisher was Lone Pine Publishing. I don't know if
Mhm.
they're still in business, and I haven't done anything with them for quite a while,
Mhm.
many years. But from there, then I started, when I really started focusing on Nova Scotia, then I
Mhm.
thought, no, like I really want to concentrate on our province. So then
Mhm.
through McIntyre Purcell Publishing, based at the time, we're based out of Lunenburg.
Right.
I had done them. They had actually approached me about doing a book on Nova Scotia's maritime superstitions, and I did Red Sky at Night for them, which
Mhm.
in is a collection of superstitions that we've all heard growing up.
Mhm.
And so then after that came out, I pitched them the idea of, how about we just do Ghost Stories of Nova Scotia.
Wow.
So we
And
did
you
ghost. We did do Ghost Stories of Nova Scotia, and then we did more Ghost Stories of Nova Scotia, and then branching from that, we last fall they published, under the McIntyre Purcell was sold,
Mhm.
and the new owners published Forerunners of Nova Scotia, which is like, it's ghost stories, but it's all one specific topic dealing with forerunners.
We
And now,
obviously have a province that's, like, overrun with
oh,
ghosts.
I mean, the material was so rich in that kind of material.
Yeah.
Like, there's legends and ghost stories, and forerunners and things,
Yeah.
stories. I could fill another volume, which in fact I'm working on even more ghost stories
Wow.
of Nova Scotia. So
Well, I'm
if
very
anybody out
excited.
there has any ghost stories,
Make sure you let Vernon know.
any
Right.
paranormal experiences. Now, these are true ghost stories.
I
These aren't
love this.
ones like, we can all write fictional ghost
Yes.
stories, right? I'm not
Yes.
looking for short stories. I'm looking for experiences that people have had.
And
Um,
how do people get a hold of you? Like,
well,
I wanna
they
make sure
can
we get that out.
through Facebook. I'm all over Facebook. Messaging me
Okay.
through Facebook is probably the best way for people to contact me.
Okay, I'll add that to the notes,
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the before when we're done, but so let's
Well,
shift
and
a
you
little bit.
also have my email address too, and you can include my email address. I
Okay,
don't
all
I
right,
don't mind
I will do that.
if people email me, that's fine.
Okay, excellent. Well, let's shift to fiction. So I
Okay.
just this afternoon finished reading your first in the Crow series.
Oh, yes, yes.
Wow, that's a little spine tingling. So,
A little
how?
a
Because
little
there's like
dark.
6 or 7 now, right? Of these?
Uh, number 8 was just published this spring. 8 Crows
Okay,
for a Wish.
wow. And you know what? I think Sue did tell me that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and now I just heard from the publisher, just to talk to the publisher the last couple of days, and, they've scheduled to release, 9 Crows for a Kiss next spring, so
oh my goodness.
early
And
next year.
Sue's just said, we'll do a day trip down to do your ghost,
Oh,
story
that'd be fun.
night. That would
You're
be a lot
gonna
of
love
fun, wouldn't
Sue,
it?
she's all over she's so supportive of,
She
uh,
must be cloned, I'm just gonna say.
yeah, I did an event, a couple weeks ago down on LaHaye Bookstore and,
Mhm.
LaHaye River Books, and, on a Saturday at 4 o'clock, and the next thing I knew, Sue and Lana were walking in. It was great to see them. I just was
Love
so
those
impressed,
2.
yeah. I
My
just feel
goodness.
guilty, though. I don't like Lana, she's an amazing person and a great author, and she took the time to come to one of my events, but I
How
just don't
nice.
seem like when I'd love to come to one of her events, but I just don't seem to have the time. I'm always doing something else whenever.
One of
Um,
these days.
one of these days it's
One
gonna
of
happen.
these days. So
Anyways,
talk
yes,
about the Crow series, like, how does
right.
it why? I mean, I will never
Why?
look at a crow the same again.
Did you say why? Well, here's why.
Yeah,
Many,
and
many
how?
years ago, I mean, my mind never shuts off, obviously, but
I can tell.
many, many years ago, I had this
37 books.
idea. I wanted to write this story. I had this sort of crazy idea that I could envision this young woman turning up in a small rural community, and she was a stranger, total stranger.
Mhm.
Nobody in town knew who she was, but she knew everybody's deep dark secrets. And you've read the book now, so you know who I'm talking about, Maggie Collins, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And she has a secret, and it's I just felt that whole concept of this stranger amongst, like, this whole thing, a stranger amongst us, and she knew everything
Eerie.
about everyone, but nobody, who is this woman, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, when I had this idea many years ago over in Kentville, they had this infestation of crows that they couldn't get rid of,
Oh my goodness.
and they would come to roost there, and they would make a quite a mess in the community, defecating all over the place, right?
Mhm.
And but I thought, well, wouldn't it be kind of fun if, when Maggie arrives in town, if it happened to sort of coincide with this crow infestation, instead of being Kentville, it could be my town, right?
Of course.
So that's how it evolved. But um, interesting enough, when I wrote the book the first time, the first like not the first time, when I wrote the first book, it really wasn't. It didn't start off as One Crow's Sorrow. It had many other titles along the way.
Mhm.
But one time when I was doing revisions, I thought, because I really didn't like the other titles, I thought, well, there's one crow that really plays prominent in the story, and tying into my superstitious background and the folklore heritage that I had, I thought, what about One Crow Sorrow? Because if you've read the story, there's a lot of reasons for that, and it just
Mhm.
seemed to fit.
It's beautiful, it's beautiful, and I said earlier I went to Mount St. Vincent University, and
Oh,
there
yes.
used to be this humongous murder of crows
Oh,
that
yes.
lived out by the
Yeah,
mother house, and now
yeah,
that they've felled all those trees, I'm not sure what community they've descended
yeah.
upon.
Yeah.
Oh,
What
and
is
we have I just have to tell you, Read by the Sea just wrote, "We have a campfire story time on July 4th. Ghost stories would be more than welcome. Consider this your official invitation."
There you go. You'll have to send me the details. I can tell you that on July 5th, I'm in Truro doing a book signing, so I'm not sure how the scheduling coincides, but, if I had some details, we could try to look at it.
I think
Um,
that's great.
what was
Mm.
I gonna say? Oh, where were we?
So now
Oh,
you're on 8 of the
yeah,
Crow
now I'm on 8,
series.
but, the
Wow.
book really, it wasn't intended to be a series. It was supposed to be a one-off.
I know how that
Um,
feels.
yeah, and so, the fun part of it was, I really had this, 'cause the story takes place, in my hometown, and that's another
Mhm.
story altogether. but I was really nervous about the book coming out, and I really thought I wasn't sure how people were going to react to it. And for those who have read it, you understand the reason why.
Mhm.
Um, and I really thought I'll be lucky to get, you know, acceptance for this first one in the series. But then after it came out, people started asking for the next one. Like, when's the
Yep.
next book coming out? When are you going to do the next one? And I kept saying, well, I don't know. I never really thought about it. And then the publisher kept saying we should do another one. People really want it, and they put the pressure on. Could you do it? Can you do a sequel? And I really hadn't intended, so I really didn't
Mhm.
know how I could do a sequel to it. And so I had to go back and examine the book several times and read it a couple times just to see
Mhm.
if. And I did eventually realize, well, there is a little nugget there that I could spin off to number two, Two Crows
For
Joy.
sure. Mhm.
But moving forward, I was always very careful then um, to plant seeds in case the publishers were interested
One
in
of the
doing
next
another
one.
one.
Yes.
It would have a thread that I could at
Yeah.
least weave through. So each of
Yeah.
the books, and it's important for people to understand that each of the books in the series are self-contained stories.
Yep.
Like you don't have to pick up, like you don't have to have read number 5 to read number 6. You can
Excellent.
read it. But the thing, like a small town, people come and go, people die,
Yeah.
or new strangers come to town. So you might not know some of the character interactions from book to book, but you could still
Mhm.
certainly get the story.
The
And
story,
yeah,
exactly.
and I tried to
Mhm.
explain a little bit of the character connections in each of the books. Now, having said that, if anybody picks up number 8, I would recommend that you read number 7 before you read number 8.
Okay.
Because of all the books in the series, they are kind of tied together.
Most
Um,
intertwined. Well, I'm listening. I'm holding my breath because I'm working on a series myself.
oh,
That
yes. Yeah.
book 2 is gonna come out not too far distant future, but book 1 was written 10 years ago.
Okay.
So I had to go
It's
back to
it's
book
it's
1 and go,
fun,
"Wait a
it's
minute."
fun. It's fun. If you have any ideas, and any thoughts that you may do it as an ongoing series, be
I know.
careful that you make sure you leave yourself an opening. Because now, like, people the most common question I get now is, "How far are you gonna go? When's it gonna stop?" And,
Mhm.
so right now, my plan is to go to 13.
Wow. Oh, good number, of
Well,
course.
and because, I just wanna make sure I get the line right, because everybody in the, um, like, every title in the book takes its line, like, takes its every title take is named from a let me say that again. The title comes from a phrase in the poem,
Yes,
right?
correct.
So, in this case, 13 is 13 crows, beware, for it's the devil himself. So it seems like, considering what's going on in these books, it might be
Yeah.
an appropriate time,
Yes.
in like a to but, after so many working with these characters for so many years, it might be difficult to say goodbye.
Right. Oh, I love it. So, obviously I have to get
Yeah.
through the
Yeah, go
series, like
you can go see Joe
Sue.
Sue
Oh, I'm sure she's already putting a package together for me. If I
at
know
the
her.
Dartmouth Book Exchange. I'll give you a little plug there, Sue.
Yeah,
And pick up, Two Crows Joy, and, and I hope
and
you if you
one
do read
crows
it, I hope
grow.
you enjoy it.
Oh, absolutely. And before I can't believe we're already at the 30-minute mark, but before we sign off, I just want to give a little shout out. After we scheduled the interview, Vernon, I was scanning my bookshelf and realized I have this.
Ah, okay, yeah,
I
that
already
was
had it.
there you
Isn't it?
go. An
Yeah.
anthology of, Nova Scotian, writers and art, thoughtful people who have, written about, their home, what it
Yes.
means to them. So,
Yeah, and I'll
yeah,
have
that
to
was
reread it because it was a while ago, and, the ones that stood out for me, Silver Donald's
yeah,
story, I've always wanted to go Ilmadown, and Carol Bruneau's about her mom. I, recently
yes,
lost my
yeah.
mom, so rereading that was just like, "Oh," so,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You've got some
Awesome writers. Some great
amazing
people
stuff.
in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible, and I'm glad that you don't take 14 years to write all your books because and obviously you have, more than one going on at the
Oh,
same
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah,
You'd be
well,
200 years old.
as I said, um, Nine Crows for a Kiss is done. I'm just working on some edits for it
Okay.
and getting it
Okay.
off to the publisher. And the first draft of 10 number 10 is also
Hmm.
completed. The
And
first draft.
you also have a book coming out in the fall. It's
I
like a
do.
kids collection. No.
Nova Scotia Grandma's Home Remedies.
Yeah.
It's again, it's in the whole theme. My desire to collect Nova Scotian folklore and our sort of oral history, things that are passed down to us from one generation to the next. So
Yeah. Oh,
it comes
I
up because
love
while
it.
I was out doing ghost stories and talking to people, because you can tell I love to chat. People would tell me things and look, strange things. Some of the cures were really bizarre,
Hmm.
and I thought, well,
I
that
love
should
it.
be fun. I should write that down and keep a. So after many years of doing that, I had quite a long collection of these things. So
That's
I
awesome.
was lucky to
Ferret
find.
it away. Yeah, ferret it
Yeah,
away.
yeah,
And
buried
now all of
away,
a
and
sudden, yeah,
someday it may be reborn as a book, and
I
lo
love
and
it.
behold, it has, yeah.
I love
And
it.
and
Well,
and
you're every interviewer's dream, Vernon.
oh, well, as you can tell, you wind me up and you can't shut me up. It's just like
Well, and we're gonna have to do another show for sure. As
anytime.
yeah, and
I'd
people
love
are
to.
already saying this too, like put some aside for me. So we're
Awesome.
in good shape. We'll have a
Wonderful.
spate of Vernon Oickle books sold in the next little bit. So, have you
Love
had
it.
any last words of advice before we wrap up for new
Uh,
writers?
well, to new writers, just, I would just say, if you have a dream to write, write. You can't be a writer if you don't write. Uh, be persistent, be dogged in your pursuit of your dreams, and, just hang on to that whatever motivates you, and stay with it. It's a tough road, but the end result, the payoff is always worth it for me. And I think any
Hmm.
published author or writer or journalist would agree with
Hmm.
that, when you see your book, like, this book coming out this fall will be number 38 for me. And I can tell you, when I walk in a bookstore and see my title on the bookshelf for the first time, I'll still get those butterflies in my belly.
Yeah,
The same as I did the very first book. When you hold that book in your hands for the first time, it's like, wow, did I do that?
right. And you start reading through it, and you're like, I don't. Oh, did I write this?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah, where did that come from?
Right, right. Really good
Exactly.
advice,
Yeah,
and Sarah says, "Great advice, I will heed it." Thanks, Vernon. And
awesome.
thank you so much for joining us today on the author
My
journey. It's been
pleasure.
such a delight to chat,
My pleasure. Thank
and
you for having
definite
me.
oh, absolutely, and would love to have you come back after book 38 comes out.
Right on, anytime.
I would love it. And thank you all for joining us on the author journey today. I'm Anne O'Connell with OC Publishing. This is the last episode. We're going to take a summer break, but we'll be back full force in September. So please watch some past episodes in the meantime. And thank you, Vernon Oickle, for joining us today. And happy reading and writing. And we'll see you again next time on the author journey. Bye for now.